Hello and welcome back to part 5 of the Amati Bismarck, and before we continue with this project, let me give you a quick update what I have done for between the last part and now. Well, that was the condition we left part 4, so we have covered the complete hull with filler primer and a check coat, so a matte black thin spray of paint, so that we can see where are some dents and cracks in the hull. Well, I have sanded this now completely, and I've done this with a 400 grit sandpaper. And before we continue with the project, let me give you some builder's tip. If you don't like it, you can move forward to this point, and there we continue with the project. Okay, so there was a comment, I think it was in part 3, from a French guy who really had problems to get a smooth surface. He had a lot of dents and imperfections in the hull, and he didn't get any grip of these problems. Well, let me give you some advice. It's better you prepare from the first step, that means the first layer of planking, and then to continue with the second layer, and so on and so on. In the end, you have lesser and lesser problems. But if you save all those problems and do not attend them in the first step, this will add on, and in the end, you really have huge problems to get rid of all the dents and cracks and whatsoever. So preparation is everything. And the next thing is, when you sand, especially this hull, it's very easy, and it has not a lot of curves. Even it looks like it has a lot of curves, but this type of hull is really flat. So use sanding blocks in all shape and sizes, because that's very important. Because if you try to sand this by hand, your hand will move up and down together with the bumps and the dents in the hull, so you never will get rid of the bumps and the dents. So use a sanding block wherever you can use it. Okay, so the next thing is these photo etch applications, and well, it's also sometimes not easy to get a very smooth transition between the photo etch part and the second layer of planks. So I made a little animation how I tried to solve this, and in my opinion, this has a really smooth transition. It's almost invisible. I think 99% you do not see that there is a difference between the photo etch part and the second layer of hull planks. So after you applied the first layer of planks, sand the hull with a very coarse sandpaper. In this case, I've used a 50 grit sandpaper, because you do not get any awards for a very smooth surface after the first layer of planks. It's only to shape the hull. So after the first layer of planks, you apply the template for the PE sheet, and after the template, you apply the second layer of planks. This whole assemble you can now sand flush with a 100 grit sandpaper, so that you are level to template and the second layer of planks. After you have leveled and sanded this all, apply the PE sheet and cover the gap for this special model now between the first layer and the PE sheet, so that you are leveled with the deck. You now can apply a masking tape for the whole PE sheet and move the masking tape maybe 1 to 1.5 millimeters away from the edge of the photo etch part. If you're finished with that, apply a sanding filler primer. You can find filler primer in automotive paint stores, and maybe also in standard hardware. If you remove the masking tape from this primer, you will left with excess of filler primer below the photo etch part, and that's the thing we want to have. because now you can send this all flush and you're left with almost invisible transition between the photo edge and the second layer of blanks. Okay, so I hope the builder step was not too boring, and some of you, especially you, struggle with sanding the hull, get something out of it. Well, we now will continue with the project, and we have to apply now photo edge parts, smaller photo edge parts on this photo edge part, and also in the center of the hull. And what else we have to do, that we will see in the following video. Alright, so since part 5 has already mutated to the little talk show, let me add some comments in the end of this video. The instructions said on the very end, so in the second book of the instruction, to add those tubes and also the anchor. I don't know why they put it in the end of this project, because in my opinion that will ruin or can ruin your paint job. On the other hand, there is a little outrigger who has to be positioned here, but it's so fragile and I'm very afraid that I will knock it off if I install it right now. So that is one very last thing we have to add in the end of this project. Since we have now added everything, it's now time to check if there are any scratches or whatever has to be attended before painting. And painting is the word, because part 6 will be all about painting the hull. So up to then, stay tuned and see you there.